Before we tune in to today's episode of Cocktails in Compliance, we wanted to remind you that now is the best time to get your Resmania 2025 tickets. This year's event will be hosted in San Antonio, Texas at the La Cantera Resort and Spa from April 14th through the 17th, 2025. The best part? We'll have 2 affordable tracks this year, one dedicated to HUD and one dedicated to tax credit. You'll get to hear and learn from affordable and compliance experts in the industry, including Jenny DeSilva, Scott Michael Dunn, Stacey Day, Rachel Yagi, and more. And of course, it wouldn't be Resmania without a live Cocktails in Compliance, hosted by Rue Fox and Janel Ganim, with cocktails for all who attend this session. Early bird prices for Resmania 2025 end October 31st, so run, don't walk, to resmania.myresman.com to get yours today. And now let's hear from Rue and Janelle on the latest episode of Cocktails in Compliance.
Hi, I'm Rue.
Hi, I'm Janelle, and welcome to episode 17 of Cocktails in Compliance.
Woohoo!
Oh, so, full disclosure, we did episode 17 at the Florida Apartment Association recently.
Don't tell them. Feel like they got left out.
You didn't get left out because we couldn't record it. So, couple things going on. This one is a little bit different. You're getting highlights of the live episode 17, but also we finally have late breaking news. So, in fact, we were in such a hurry to get here and record this that we had to stop at 7-Eleven on the way because we were not completely prepared for this. So,
shake it.
Are we shaking?
Shake it. I don't know. Shake it. I always shake it.
I've been watching Drink Masters. Now I want to shake it like
Yeah, like a cocktail.
Yeah.
Today we're having hard iced tea, twisted tea. My flavor is pineapple.
Mine is peach, and I feel like we're at a tailgate party.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of apropos
Twisted tea.
for
It's football season. You ready?
I'm trying. My fingernail's so sad it won't open it. Can you open it for me?
That's such a satisfying sound.
Hold, please. I'll put the microphone a little, well, I don't know if I can get it closer and not spill this. There you go.
That just makes me feel like I am on a boat or a ship on a hot day on the water.
Or you're tailgating.
Or you're tailgating.
All
Either
right.
way.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Rue. I can't believe we have these big, ridiculous cans.
They did not come in brown paper bags, though. They just
No, it's
came in one
plastic.
big plastic
It's
bag.
plastic.
The brown paper bags would have been fantastic. Then we could have each had one and left them in the paper bag.
We could have had mystery cocktails. No one would know that it's our 7-Eleven special.
Oh.
Note to self, don't be in such a hurry next time.
Oh. Next time we'll be prepared with our cocktails.
You can do it.
Ooh. Okay.
We're not rookies. We can get through this. Okay.
We got lots to talk about, though.
We do have lots to talk about. So,
Actually, before you say that, we're really happy to be in the studio.
we're so happy. We realize
Yes.
it's been a while.
Yes, it has. And we really like studio because we can be silly. We can say things that we can't say when we're speaking on a live panel at the conference, like, Love Your Software by Russman.
Yeah. Yes, you are correct. We can be less filtered. I will admit the cocktails we've had on the road have been better. But
Well,
we had some good ones.
we did.
We had spicy margaritas. I forgot what we had before that at Sama. I don't know.
I don't remember. It was a Mai Tai, and it was very good.
Oh, that was good.
And we played a drinking game. So every time you said the word, and actually at both conferences, every time you said the word or anybody in the audience said the word affordable, people had to drink.
And people stepped up their game. Like they were spelling out
Man,
acronyms. They were dropping
yeah, they
affordable
were.
left and right.
It was
So
awesome.
we were out of cocktail in about 15 minutes. It was amazing. But we had people who brought us more, which was terribly exciting too.
And then everybody liked us.
Until we ran out of cocktails. But they liked us anyway because they'd already had cocktails. So anyway, I think we're going to get invited back.
I hope so.
We had a lot of people. It's the last session of
We
the day.
did.
The place was packed. Well, we'll talk more about FAA in a minute, but really one of the things that got us in the studio so urgently was our friends from HUD, because we have not had a lot to say about HOTMA lately.
Because there hadn't been a lot to say.
Yeah, until they released a notice. So Friday, September 20th, HUD issued notice H 2024-09 Bear with me on the official title of the notice. Revised compliance date, implementation of sections 102 and 104 of the Housing Opportunity through Modernization Act of 2016, HOTMA.
9 years later.
But who's counting?
Sorry, I sound like a frog. I'm really not going to talk a whole lot. Janelle's going to do most of the talking today. I won't kill you guys with my voice.
I could start making some cracks about your voice, but you've been talking a lot. You've been busy. It happens. Plus all the crap in the air. So it's okay.
Are we having another drink? Just because my voice is...
Yeah, your voice is scratchy. You're making me thirsty. Plus, I wanted to watch you make that face trying to drink that. Wow. I don't think we're getting 7-Eleven cocktails anymore. Hey, it could have been worse. We looked at those little buzzball things and we thought people are going to watch that and think this has gone so downhill. Anyway, back to HOTMA. So this was a very, very short notice that basically just said the previous notice, 2023-10, said that owners had to be in full compliance with HOTMA's final rule for income certifications have an effective date on or after January 1st of 2025. And the new notice extends the compliance date to July 1st of 2025.
There's something wrong with that, though, right?
End of notice. Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with that.
Statutorily, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, we all kind of looked at that and went, what the heck? Which is why it has continued to roll year after year, because statutorily, it has to go into effect on January 1st. So we're like, what kind of crazy math is this going to be to say, I'm going to make it July 1st? I don't really understand the math. Lots of theories about what's going on and how
What's the best theory you heard?
I don't think I want to say it where it can be recorded. I'll tell you in the car on the way home. Okay. Anyway, it was out there, but also I think it's probably the most accurate. But here's the thing.
You heard it here first.
July 1st, 2025. Let's do some real math going backwards.
March 1st.
That means your software has to be ready. It is September 30th. We are 5 months away from when that software would have to be ready, which means we have to code, we have to test. And by test, I mean not only the software, but also testing track submissions. We have to give people time to switch over from 202D to 203A. Generally, that's about a minimum of 3 months that we've allowed.
What's the elephant in the room, though?
Oh, we still don't have forms in a spec. You know, those things we've been talking about, we still don't have them. So it would be really cool to start the clock for software vendors. We're still waiting. So,
well, and really and truly, I feel like the software vendors are as ready as they can be. Like, it's not they're going to have to start coding from the very beginning of this to get to where we are. Everybody is here, and we're all just kind of sitting here twiddling our thumbs and hanging out, waiting around.
Yes. So what we have talked about previously is there are things that people could do, So bottom line, it's July 1st, 2025. So what does that mean? Your tenant selection plans and your EIV policies must be updated to include HOTMA provisions. We've talked about that in the past.
That was a prior requirement, though, right?
It is.
Like, that's not new.
And that stands, right?
Yeah.
That stands. However, and this is not new, owner agents cannot implement those policies until your new site software is available. So make sure you update your policies, but then just maybe put them on a shelf for a minute.
Because if you get an MOR, they're going to probably want to see that you've updated them.
Well, it's funny you say that, because we have heard of people getting MOR findings related to HOTMA. So HUD has clarified that owner agents can receive an MOR finding if they've made no attempt to update their TSP or their EIB policy. Okay, that's fair, because they said update the policy.
Attempt. So that means that you could just write one little line item or something, and that would be an attempt.
You would think so, but
don't do it.
Because they said if an owner agent has updated policies and your reviewer feels that a change is not complete or compliant, they can issue observations, but not an actual finding. I don't make the rules. I'm just reporting.
I know. I feel like that blank stare is probably every owner agent out there that's trying to run a property right now. Like, I see your lips moving, but I don't really hear what you're saying because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't make sense. Yeah. All right. So
I have an important question.
Yeah.
And this is just me. This could be other people who just haven't asked the question too, or it could just be me. Is Trax 203A synonymous with HOTMA?
in terms of updating your software, yes, because the HOTMA updates are part of 203A. So they all have to go together. Now,
So then that means that the software vendors will be releasing 203A at the same time we release our other HOTMA things.
yes.
And does that mean that everyone is going to need to flip the switch to 203A to submit to HUD?
Yes. So when we talk about, you've got to wait for your software updates before you can implement policies, that's exactly what we're talking about. The HOTMA updates are part of 203A. In fact, I feel like you're reading off my paper like magically. So once you've updated your TSP and your EIV policy, I know this is why I'm glad we're in studio again. Otherwise, there's like 2 to 3 people sitting between us, and I just can't. Yeah, it's like it doesn't work that long distance. Owner agents aren't required to address any other HOTMA changes until the new HOTMA compliant software is available and implemented, which would be the 203A. So the next question, obviously, is so when are your software updates going to be available? I'm back to we're still waiting. So I don't want people to think software vendors haven't done anything. What Rue said earlier is correct. We've done everything that we can with the information that we've been given. But there's
that's all vendors.
Right. All vendors, correct, that have been participating and playing this game since however long we started this. But we're missing a few minor things like the 50059, the 50059A, the voucher form, and the MAC guide. Kind of hard to have a
that's
software
kind of
update.
everything that goes around submitting your voucher.
I mean, kind of, yeah. Yeah. Those little things you do every day. We are still waiting on HUD to send the new forms to OMB for approval. And there's some debate about how those were submitted.
Office of Management and Budget.
Correct. Thank you for giving me honest Rue. Also, they have to submit all 5 of the HUD leases for approval too, because there are lease changes. So there's a whole packet of forms that has to go to approval. HUD is also going to release some updated versions of other documents provided to residents, including like an updated fact sheet for how your rent is determined. So there are a lot of forms that we're waiting on, still waiting.
I mean, really, we should not be surprised considering how long we've waited on 203A anyway, right? Like 2010.
Yeah. I'm going to be like fully gray haired by the time this comes out.
I mean, I'm going to be retired and living on a beach in Florida.
You are.
I mean, hopefully living near the beach.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, I know. I expected you to not come back from FAA, but that's another story because we were right on the beach. It was kind of sweet. All right. So, yes, the HOTMA requirements still need to be added or modified to all those forms, to the MAC guide, all that goodness. Once that starts, then once again, development has to happen. The testing has to happen. And we have to tell customers how and when to transition to the updates. But, Rue, what if you wanted to implement some of the HOTMA changes now? So, current HUD guidance specifies that aside from your TSP and EIV policies, which we already talked about, update it, put it on a shelf, can't do anything with it.
You mean like the state HFA? The state HFAs?
Yeah, kind of like they've updated or they've implemented some things. Rue, you're so bad when we're in studio. But yes, you're correct. They did their own things, most of them. But there are things that you can do while you're waiting for your site software. So things like HUD reducing the verification burden for financial accounts. You can use the balance from a single current bank statement instead of averaging the balance from 6 bank statements. So that's cool.
That's HUD, correct?
Yes. Federal award letters may be used for the entire award year instead of having them expire in 120 days. Owner agents may exclude retirement accounts as defined by the IRS. Did I say that right? IRS? Yeah. So
last time I checked.
Yeah.
IRS is IRS.
I know. It sounded weird in my head.
I have a question. So again, this is me asking a question for the general public out there. What if I decide that I'm going to start using those? Am I going to get a finding with my CA?
Are you reading upside down off my paper again?
No.
Okay. You're very inquisitive today and you're very intuitive. You're scaring me. All right. So retirement accounts, you can exclude those when determining the value of assets and income from assets. And you can also implement new HOTMA income inclusions. There are several things like that are done as part of the verification process and the application recertification process that really whatever value you put in your software is still going to be able to be transmitted without getting an error. So you're okay there. You're not truly waiting on site software. So If you wish to implement that, the recommendation is that you document to show what changes you implemented, if appropriate, what the total tenant payment would have been if the change had not been implemented. So, failure to document the tenant file when HOTMA changes have been implemented can result in MOR findings. So, what we've heard a lot of our industry friends recommend is a note to file. So, put a cover sheet on that file that says, here's my new move in or my initial or my recertification. Here are the things I did in terms of verification or what I excluded or didn't. Just make it very, very clear to a reviewer what you did to keep yourself out of trouble. But go ahead and take those good benefits of HOTMA and document to keep yourself from getting a finding.
I got nothing because
it's a lot.
That is the worst. It's a lot. That is the worst advice. That is so messy.
It's trying to take the good of HOTMA. What can I do now if I'm a property manager? What won't I get a finding for? How do I avoid a finding if I have a reviewer that maybe is just as fuzzy about it as I am? So that's the recommended path. So they're trying to implement as much as they can while we continue to wait.
I'm going to ask you another question, and this one may have to be edited out. So we may have to edit.
Wait a minute. I got to brace myself.
I'm perfectly comfortable asking it, but it's provocative. I think that they're telling you that you can go ahead and make those changes because they think that's taken the heat off of them for not meeting the requirements. They're going to go, yeah, we're running behind, but we've already said that the sites can do this and this and this and this and this.
Meaning they could theoretically say they met that January 1st compliance date,
Yep.
sort of, kind of, partially.
Yep. Just a thought.
I feel like you got like a good 8 hours of sleep and ate some Wheaties this morning. I'm like, you're on it. So that's a good thought.
I just feel bad for our owner agent people out there. They're just in the worst place. And oh my God, what if they have layers?
Well, that's just it.
And oh my God, what if they've already had to do the HOTMA tick?
Well, so many states have done the
I
HOTMA
know.
tick without some of the guidance on what to do, particularly related to assets. So it's very confusing. As we've stated before, the sites do what they want when they want. It is the golden rule. They control the money. So whoever controls the gold makes the rules, right? But it is very confusing if you are on a layered property. I'm with you. I truly feel for all of the site staff that's trying to manage this, trying to dance that fine line of, what can I do? What can I do? What's a finding? What was the word I used for it? An observation. And the bottom line is, are you getting the people who need to be in the homes in the homes? Are you making sure that they're being qualified appropriately and vetted? It's a lot. And their jobs are tough already.
Yeah.
We just added a ton of complexity to say, maybe this, maybe that, whatever you think, just document it.
Right. And then, by the way,
luck.
eventually your software will handle it, but we can't really tell you when.
Eventually. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I'll get down off of my soapbox now.
No. You're not the only one on that soapbox. Trust me. As soon as that notice came out, everybody's phone blew up and went, what the heck? July? I mean, look, let's be real. We've been saying for some time, we've been waiting for a notice to come out because there was no feasible way this was going to happen January 1st, 2025. So
the cute thing is they should have already started doing research like September 1st for January 2025. So I just would have thought that the notice would come out before September 1st rather than before October 1st. But
yeah, and that's where you have sites who have been.
That's just my thoughts.
Well, and you have sites who have been keeping up with it, contacting their vendors, not just us, but I hear it from others in the industry as well. Well, my vendor's not ready. Well, no vendor's ready. We can't be.
And just so y'all know, the vendors are all in contact, right? Property vendors, the CA software vendors, the CA the HUD trainers, everybody is in really pretty constant contact with each other. So we all know where everybody is and everybody's in the same place.
Yeah. Trying to make the best of it. So what I will say is stay tuned. I know that we will. We'll be back in studio.
We will.
Somewhere end of October, early November, because
probably mid-November because of where.
Yeah. Possibly. But yes. So I'm hoping we have more updates from NAMA, to be honest, because there's HUD staff that will be there. And I know NAMA staff just asked for a list of questions. I'm like, So that's what we know. At least there's something, which is better than the months and months of going, we don't know anything.
God, we just spent 30 minutes of our life on this.
Well, that's just a day.
I know.
But, that's kind of all anybody's been talking about since this notice came out.
Well, and it's really funny because I know that's what y'all think we always talk about. But the last 2 places we've been, we were in Tampa for Summit Leadership, which is fantastic, in August. And then we were in Hollywood, Florida for Florida Apartment Association just a couple weeks ago. And both of those sessions included very little discussion about HOTMA. It's just been a minute, so we felt like there was a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah. Which again is why we got here so fast we had to stop at 7-Eleven. All right. So we do want to give you some updates from Florida Apartment Association from that session. As we said, we weren't able to record it and share that with you. And I wish we could have. I think, Rue, that might have been one of our best live sessions.
Our panel was phenomenal.
Our panel was, so we had Stacey Day from Karen Graham, who we decided that was her 4th?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were joking.
She's a rock star.
We were joking it's kind of like SNL where after you are a guest so many times, in their case a host, there's like, you get your name up on the wall.
Right.
You probably get a special jacket or something crazy. So Stacey's like, where's my jacket in my picture? So Stacey, we had Ricardo Alicia from Wendover Management who did back-to-back. He did SAMA and FAA. And particularly, he was very busy at FAA because he was the outgoing president. So he had all his presidential things to do, but managed to stop by and have a cocktail or two and chat with us. And we also had Kimberly Maggard from Royal American. She was our newbie. She was a little nervous.
She was super nervous until she got past it.
Well, I love it. She was so nervous, and I'm like, it's going to be fine. We're just sitting here having a cocktail chatting. She's like, but there's so many people in the room. We're like, don't look at them. We're all just talking. I said, we're going to get done, and you're going to go, that was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again. And as soon as we finish, she goes, oh, my God, that was so much fun. I can't wait. When do we get to do it again? So we were thrilled to have her. She is actually a former past president. I feel like that was too many past, but she's past president of FAA as well. So I'm sure she had plenty of things going on. Ricardo and Kimberly had their teams front and center, which was awesome and also a little awkward when we're like, hey, Ricardo, Kimberly, close your eyes while we poll the audience so that your team will actually answer honestly. We did have some spicy margaritas and said affordable a lot. So there was a lot of sipping. So we started out by asking people what was on their minds, which is what we did in our prep conversation. No surprises here. We are hearing the same thing across the country, no matter who we talk to. So for Ricardo, it was lack of supply. And we talked about the fact that there are bigger players coming into the market because they see affordable as being more stable. The tricky thing that we see, and Stacey chimed in on this as well, is you have a lot of players on the conventional side say, well, I'm going to do this, and how hard can it be, right? So I've got a little extra funding and some extra reporting. It'll be totally fine. And then don't always put those properties on affordable software. They tend to leave them on conventional, particularly if they're tax credit or some local set aside, and it gets tricky. And they also need training desperately.
They do, and they need software because it's just hard when, especially, it's not like you're got a company full of people who understand tax credits or any type of an income restricted program, and because they acquire this property, probably most likely right now because it is the right thing to do. You're seeing this all over the country. But when you do that, please consider getting training. Please consider getting software. Everybody out there has software that does it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so much better, not only on you, but on your property staff. And especially if it's something that is brand new and you guys don't have any experience.
Yeah.
And there's tons of great trainers out there. If y'all want to get hooked up with a trainer, holler at me and I will connect you. There's tons of great trainers in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we found about too during this prep call was a project that Florida Apartment Association had worked on that is buildflorida2030.com. It is some amazing data. If you look at population growth, the need for housing, they have it projected out till 2030. It is some phenomenal data. If you manage properties in Florida, I strongly encourage you to go to that website. Again, that's buildflorida2030.com and take a look at that information.
I had some friends that were working on that project, and I actually got to be on a couple of calls. And I will tell you, they put their heart and soul into this project. The information is fantastic. It's probably some of the best information I've seen anywhere out there in the industry, and it is compelling.
Yes, very much so.
So go take a look at it.
So then moving on to Kimberly and Stacy, they actually had a very similar topic that came to mind was the knowledge level of You're not enjoying that 7-Eleven
No,
cocktail?
and I really need to drink because of my scratchy throat.
You should. I'm sorry. Next time we'll do hot toddies. So Kimberly and Stacy were talking about the knowledge of the people in the industry and what we're seeing. And Kimberly is seeing this, and I know in talking with some of our clients, we're seeing it as well, particularly in situations where we have clients who have staffers who have been there 30 years or more. And so you have this whole group of staff that is retiring. And so there's pros and cons to it, which is where we needed like all the Wendover and Royal American people to put their earmuffs on, as Ricardo and Kimberly talked about this. Yes, there's a wealth of knowledge that is walking out the door as these people retire. But as you get a younger workforce coming in, you also are getting, oh, thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
You also get people who are so used to technology and embracing it and want to adopt more technology to help them with their jobs. So, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Having said that, you do still need to train those new people coming into the industry. And the other thing that we talked about too is how do you get them excited about this industry? If you think about, and if you look at anything, millennials, Gen Z, they talk about work-life balance. They talk about wanting to work somewhere where there's a purpose. And so how do you get them excited about going, I'm going to sit you at a desk at a property and you're going to work there 8 hours a day and you're probably going to work a Saturday or a Sunday or something like that as well. So it's very rigid business hours, much less flexible. But what greater purpose is there than to provide someone with a basic need? Right? Which is what housing is. So I think getting people engaged in saying, this is what you're doing. It's a service to your residents. It's a service to your community to house families or individuals if they're working at senior properties or properties for the disabled. But getting them excited about that. Also talking about career stability. If you think about, we've certainly seen in the DFW area as well as other places a number of layoffs. This is a very stable industry. People are always going to need housing.
And once you get there, you're never going to go away.
That's true. We're living proof of that. So, yes. But,
it's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is. So, again, just thinking about that longevity once you do get into this industry. The other thing that came up, and we hear about this quite a bit as well, was centralization. Again, this is where we needed those two companies to put their earmuffs on because, honestly, they were a little reluctant. Our panelists were a little reluctant to bring it up because they don't want to panic people. But what we're seeing is the conversation when we started talking about this a couple of years ago was, I'm going to use centralization as a way to cut costs, right? I'm going to be able to reduce my staff and I'm going to save all this money and it's great. And what we're finding now is that's not really the case. What you're doing is freeing them up from tasks that can be automated, or you can have specialized team members who focus just on recertifications or move-ins or the application process, something like that. What you're really doing at this point is freeing up your site staff to focus on their property, spend time with their residents, go walk their properties and make sure everything looks okay. Right. So I don't think it's as scary as it used to be where people thought, oh, my goodness, I'm going to be outsourced. That's not really the intent here anymore.
No, it's really not. And, it may be that you can add another property or two to your portfolio without having to add headcount.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay because you freed up a resource of time that you can have to expend somewhere else. So
exactly. So, one of the things that they talked about was the AR processes. So those recertifications, sending 3-day notices if you've got people who are delinquent on their rent payment. And that one was interesting because they talked about really that can be a little bit emotional if you're, if you've developed relationships with your residents and, you feel maybe a little bad about sending them a 3-day notice. But you can't. You have to separate it. Right.
Also, your software should be able to send out notices like that, and you shouldn't have to do it.
That's true. But really just taking that emotion out from the on-site staff, and even centralizing that. So again, I think centralization is starting to get some more traction, which is great. There were some Florida specific things that we covered as well. Live Local was the one that pops to mind. We heard people talking about Live Local and we thought, well, is this workforce housing? That's exactly what it was. And we've talked about this in the past, that missing middle, right? So those people that make anywhere from 80 to 120% of the AMI, thank you, who need to stay in a location, live in a location near where they work. You certainly want your essential workers, you want teachers, you want law enforcement, you want fire, EMT, you want all of them to stay close to where they work because you want to keep those people in your community. And so it really is addressing that. Kimberly had said that in Florida, she said they're saying that they have to stay at 90% of the market rent. So I thought that was interesting. And again, something very worthwhile to look into and making sure that we're housing those people. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that your software can handle. But I will also say that it is currently not something that is regulated at the federal level.
correct.
It's programs in states and cities and counties. And so, just because you understand it in the current county that you're in, if you move, you're going to want to do a little refresh on it because it could be different. So,
Yes. Yes. Being in Florida, we had to talk about insurance a little bit too, especially given recent events with the hurricane that has just recently gone through there. We've been talking about, insurance premiums being high everywhere. I know we hear about it quite a bit in Florida. Kimberly and Ricardo both talked about some tort reform that was passed to reduce landlord liability, but there is a 2-year window that is about to expire. Ricardo said he thought insurance companies were waiting for that expiration to see what happens. He actually talked about a meeting that he had with Governor Santos to raise visibility about that. Kimberly said, the hope is that the tort reform helps with negligent claims, which was interesting. Ricardo did say his premiums are still high, so they're having to make concessions on liability amounts and the amounts and types of coverage. And one thing that I thought was interesting, and we've heard this a couple of times now, is that people can't get coverage on aggravated assault and battery,
isn't that crazy?
which is crazy because I can't imagine having a property and that happens on your property, but it's not your fault, right? It's not the property's fault if you're screening applicants and
But you
doing
know
what you're
that's
supposed to
they're
be
going to
doing.
sue you.
Right.
They're coming straight for you. So that's very interesting that they're having a hard time getting coverage on that.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, and I'm sorry to say that I haven't had a chance to read through it yet, but NAMA has got to plug our people in DC, right? But they have put together a working group on insurance. And I don't know if you saw it either, but they've come out with some recommendations from the working group. And I haven't had a chance to read through it, but NAMA advocates on all your behalf.
Yes.
So
Yes, and I know that there was one of our board calls that Chris Cook was actually in the HUD office, took the call from the HUD office because she was there that day. They had an all-day meeting to talk about insurance and talk about what NAMA members were experiencing. So that was good to see, and it's good to see them publish that. So hopefully we're going to see some relief there. I think the general consensus is it has to be something that comes from the national level.
Yeah.
And everybody's just kind of waiting to see, but certainly still a hot topic. One of the other things that happened, this was actually last week of August, was NCSHA published their best practice forms. So
I missed that part.
yeah, it was brief. Like it was just, if you didn't catch it, there wasn't a lot of talk about it. So I don't know why. I know Stacey Day brought this up. That they published it. I don't know how many states will adopt it. I guess I can still always hope and dream that one day all the states will use the same tick.
That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Just like that they could all use the same XML upload. That would be amazing.
The same reporting requirements.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. I can dream. It'll happen one day. Maybe. Probably not. But I'm gonna hope anyway. So I haven't heard much about it other than they got released. So I'm curious to see if that comes up at NAMA at all, if anyone talks about that. And then the last couple things we covered are things that we continue to hear about, and that's fraud and evictions. One of the things that I thought was interesting, I always think about fraud with people moving in, maybe faking a bank statement or check stub or something like that. And what Stacey brought up that she's seeing is people are actually exaggerating the amount of their income because their income to rent ratio, they can't meet that ratio in order to rent where they want. And so they're falsifying that they have additional income.
Well, and so I thought that was a very interesting point because earlier this year I had a roundtable with some of the industry experts to talk about things that they are seeing and things they are catching. And it's changed a little bit because when I had that conversation in probably February timeframe, we were seeing instances where people were not so much lying about their income, right? Because you're income qualified.
Right.
They were lying about their identity.
Mm.
And so they were more concerned at that point in time about identity fraud, which, by the way, Resman has fraud detection software, and we can do identity or we can do pay stub. We can do all of it. But it's been very interesting now to see how this is changing. And it's because rents have gone up.
Mhm.
And it's, did you say the missing middle? That it's the people in the missing middle. I'm not stereotyping, but the rents have gone up and the cost of living has gone up, and it is harder to be able to afford even a rent restricted property in some
Right.
areas. And so they're finding that to be an issue now too, which is really unfortunate.
And what Stacy went on to say is that it's harder to catch that at move-in.
Yeah.
Where they catch it is at that first annual
Yes.
recertification. So even tax credit properties who are 100% tax credit and don't have to do annuals are doing that first year just to catch that, which is sad. And of course, in cases where they are catching that, people are moving to evict and going through that process, which Ricardo talked about. He's got properties in Georgia. He talked about a new rent eviction moratorium in Atlanta. And then he said the Georgia courts are backlogged. Cases were going to mediation, which takes 5 months to schedule. And they send residents to an agency to get assistance and tell them to come back in a month. And it's basically taking 6 to 16 months to get evictions done, which is crazy. And we continue to see renters not pay rent. The eviction process stalls. And you've got owner agents who are trying to keep these properties profitable and just meet their expenses. And it's becoming harder and harder when you don't have that revenue coming in, but yet your expenses are going up.
I mean, I read an article the other day about a company in the DC metro area that's been around for years and years and years. And they are not going to stay in business because there is this crazy moratorium. And there are people that owe upwards of $70,000 in back rent with no intention whatsoever to pay.
And I don't understand. I truly don't understand it. We talk about there being a lack of supply in the industry, yet we make it increasingly more difficult for owners to do business. And we've heard a couple of people tell us that they're ready to sell their management company and move on and get out. It's becoming too difficult, and they're like, why am I even doing this anymore? So that's really sad. So I'm hoping we get some relief both on eviction moratoriums, on insurance, those costs, just to keep people going.
I'll just throw this out there too on your fraud detection. I understand that there's a lot of people unbanked in the affordable housing sector of the industry, but that doesn't stop them from having an ID. So at the very least, you want to be looking for their identity fraud, which, usually if there's one, there's another. I mean, I've seen places online where a resident can go and pay $500 for a whole new identity and all the paperwork and guaranteed approval. So
Yeah.
we know they're out there.
Yeah. You're not trying to get a fake ID or anything, right? Pretty sure you can get in.
A fake ID to make me younger.
Come on. You always try to mess me up. It was my turn. I couldn't help it. That was fun.
Well, it would help if they would ask for my ID. They don't even do that anymore. So a fake ID wouldn't even matter. I am really sorry. I've talked more than I thought I was going to. And my
No,
voice
it was
sounds
awesome. You were
horrible.
You were on fire today. I love it. So speaking of fun things, let's talk about what's coming up for us.
Woohoo!
In a few weeks, we have OpTech followed by NAMA. And NAMA in October always has a very special event, which I'm going to let you talk about.
Yes, it is our annual NAMA Education Foundation Gala, and it is our 30th anniversary, and we are super excited. We're going to be honoring all of the past Inspire recipients. So anyone that's been given that award before will be there, and we're really very excited. It's a really very special time. We were able to give over $3 million in scholarships last year, and we awarded, I think we awarded somewhere around 115, 116. So it's really awesome for these young people and adults even living in an affordable property to have the opportunity to go to school. Everybody deserves it, whether it's college or a trade school, whatever that may be. Everybody deserves a chance.
I know. I am so looking forward to that event. It's always very fun. And then after we get some new information from there, we'll be back in studio again.
And then we leave again.
And then we leave again. And we're going to Nashville, which I'm super excited about.
And then I'm going to Chicago.
And then you're going to Chicago. And then we'll probably have to just be back in studio again because, might as well do a little holiday session.
I mean, we're making up for lost studio time.
I know, right? We're not going to 7-Eleven for cocktails again, though.
No.
We're going to step it up.
No.
Sorry about that, guys. So
don't rush out and get these.
Yeah.
Is what we're saying.
But if you like them, that's okay too.
Yeah, but if it's something that you haven't ever tried, really don't rush out and get them.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your cocktail tip of the day.
Oh, but on the upside, this was $4.87. So.
All right. So again, look for us soon back in studio. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. You can find us at Optech, at NAMA, wherever else we're going to be, Chicago, at AHF Live, Nashville. You can always find Cocktails and Compliance powered by Prop Talk on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else you go for your podcast. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great month of October.